Right, it's 6 a.m. on a Thursday. A very good morning to you and welcome to this edition of Kusile Breakfast Show, the fourth day of the week. God has been kind, He has been gracious to us, and we praise Him every day and we thank Him for His everlasting mercy. This morning, motorists are going to wake up to a harsh reality. What was a costly trip is going to become steeper because the numbers are in and they are anything but friendly at the gas station pump. An 80-cent spike across all fuel types. It is a decision that lands at midnight but takes effect in your pockets by sunrise. Why now and why Eswatini when South Africa is seeing a dip? Economist Sanele Sbia is going to join us to cut through the noise, decode the global energy chessboard, as well as unpack the real impact, the real economic toll on households and businesses. That conversation is happening in the second hour of the show, 7:30 a.m. on Kusile Breakfast Show. But before we shift gears to this fuel of today's economy, we want to look at the fuel of tomorrow's governance, digital transformation. It has been the biggest story across Eswatini for the past couple of months, seeing all the developments happening that particular portfolio under the Ministry of ICT. Eswatini, of course, forging partnerships with two global heavyweights, Google and the UAE, to rewire its public service delivery. We've had some of those conversations with the minister, but what does it actually look like when we speak to the food soldiers, the people who are really making the programs every day and looking to make sure that they're implemented at the most proficiency and efficiency? AI in government, Google-backed tech academies, a digital addressing system that could revolutionize local or rather location services. Bongandla Ngamandla, he is the director of e-governance. He takes us inside this high-stakes overhaul. Plus, obviously, it is Kusile Breakfast Show, and it isn't Kusile Breakfast Show without traffic, weather, and the top news making waves across the kingdom. Every detail, every angle, right here, right now. Very good morning. Headlines this Thursday morning. We start by looking at the Eswatini Observer. These are the top stories. Mkulu jumps off police car after murder arrest. Said to police he wanted to replenish his medication. On another one, Deputy Prime Minister Thuli Dladla joined by Nomcebo Nhlengetwa, PS Siboniso Ngambule, Select Limited CEO Bheki Dlamini, and DPM's office under Secretary Makhosi Simelane. This was during a school shoes donation by Select to the DPM's office yesterday. That is that photograph there displaying everything that I just said. The Select celebrates 25 years. Petrol hikes reaches 20 Malangeni mark again. The price increase. We're going to delve much deeper into that conversation at 7:30 this morning. You do not want to miss that conversation as we unravel what it is that is behind this new development. And Bennett questions TLC subvention. On another story, let's look at the back end of this publication. We look at the leading sports headlines. Millions spent, little progress. MPs want new stadium. Express dissatisfaction with lack of progress at Somhlolo National Stadium. This is a story that speaks to Minister of Sports, Culture and Youth Affairs, Bongani Nzima, who says the ministry was allocated 20 million emalangeni from the 32 million emalangeni that was initially requested. This was for the rehabilitation of Somhlolo National Stadium. On another one, repaid Nkundla talent search funds. Mayiwane, Member of Parliament, Sicelo Kungankosi Dlamini. He has raised concerns regarding the outstanding refunds that are owed to him and other fellow MPs. Another story speaks to women in Guanyama Cup semis that have been postponed. The excitement is evident as the build-up to the semi-finals of the Women in Guanyama Cup has begun. Now, according to the Women Football Association, the secretary, Ndando Ngos, the semi-final matches have since been postponed to next weekend. Another story speaks to Temalangeni, Veliswa, who are off to Women's World Boxing Champs. Top Eswatini female boxers will travel to Serbia for the IBA Women's World Boxing Championships. They will fly out of the country tomorrow And this was confirmed by Eswatini Boxing Association Secretary Nkosinathi Dlamini. Wanderers to oppose Bucks Supreme Court review. The legal battle between Monani Pirates and Manzini Wanderers over MTN Premier League sport is set to continue. Let's look at the Eswatini Daily News this Thursday morning. Front page headlines: MPs urge Prime Minister to release 30 million Malangeni funding to TLC. The MPs have appealed to Russell Dlamini, our Prime Minister, to speed up releasing 30 million Malangeni in funding to look commission to save the health institution from collapsing. Ngutseni MP Charles Ndlovu said it was disheartening to note that the 30 million Malangeni funding that was directed at TLC had not yet been released, yet it was approved by Parliament. Why are ministers' cars still parked? Hand them over. Sentiments shared by the Pali yesterday. Another one: Foreign Affairs Minister hosts UNEP delegation to strengthen environmental collaboration. We look at the back end of this publication. Nhlambeni MP questions Somhlolo expenditure. Nhlambeni, Member of Parliament, Manzizwane. He wonders if the refurbishment of the Somhlolo National Stadium will ever be concluded. And on another one, EFA thank His Majesty King Mswati III for touring Mkhuzweni. From the international front, UEFA Champions League. Arsenal can win the UEFA Champions League. That is according to former Arsenal veteran. He is the Arsenal legend. His name is Thierry Henry. Good morning once again. That is our paper run. We go for a net break. We come back and look at the news that made headlines yesterday as well as this morning.
Lalela ngikutshele tindzaba letibuye enkosini. Uyezwa na uthokandaba luthango lonke laselibonjeni aluphelele ehlane esigodlweni ngalesihlanu mhla tisikhombisa kuyo indlovu lenkulu mhla tisiphohlongo liyagidza lithango mhla tiyimfica liyachithwa libutho bonkosi. Usho njalo Mswati lomnyama kulabalithulu ulodungandaba wasembelebelweni ulodungandaba wasemambondweni. Bayethe wena waphakathi phezu komkhono ngekubusisa kwawo emakhosi luthango lonke lufanele ukuthi livunule lihiya lelibovu ngemgcibelo bese ngelisondo livunula lihiya leli-orange. Ningavunule mabalabala lithango nibe bahle. Bayethe wena waphakathi.
Sifuse sinivusele sinamukele ehlelweni Kusile Breakfast Show. Sivukana nathi tindzaba liphini landvuna nkhulu imphungathu Kusile Dladla lithi kufanele kubanjwe tingcoco imini dialogue letsinza-ke tinhlangothi letahlukene kude kutawukwateka kutsi yini lebanga kutsi bantfu labakhubatekile bangakhoni kufinyelela emaphusheni abo. Imphunga ikusho lokhu ngesikhathi lelihhovisi lihlomelisa abafunzi lababili labakhubatekile labenta kahle luhlolweni lwaka-Eswatini General Certificate of Secondary Education EGSCE. Labafunzi boKhazulwandle Gama lobekafundza eSt Joseph's High School kanye naPhetsile Nyathabo lobekafundza eTimpisini High School.
Let us have a mini indaba, mini lengadzingi wonke muntu kepha ledzinga the core stakeholders. Sitokhona kubutha onke lama gaps labavimbela kwekuthi i-vision sifiso sabo ema-goals abo bangafiki kubo, and then address them one by one siku-implemente lesikubonako. I-St. Joseph's asisebente sente kwekuthi le hostel yenteke in such a way that kube yi-first world hostel. Sitolanza nabaya bantfwana from all the regions of the country. Labangakhoni kuya esikolweni because of the distance. Ngaphakathi kwalatethu utite ma hostel. Because of the distance, nonye umfana ngeke akhona khona lokufika estation kuthola ibhasi. Ngaphela ema-disability ahlukene.
Labantwana labakhubatekile labahlonyelisiwe ngkhuzulwandle egama naphethile Nyantabo bayabonga ukuthi umsebenzi wabo lo mhlu unakeke nanabo.
Siyabonga nje ukuthi kusebenta kwethu lokungaka kungabukelwa phansi. Sithi sisebentile kubese kuba khona ukuthi sibonge. Kuba into lenhle leyo phindze kusinike i-courage ukuthi namanje lo yakhona sebenta utakuthola kudunyiswa phambili.
I don't know what to say. I just like to thank God for carrying me all this way. It's been God all the way. Thank my parents, my teachers. At Timbisini, I didn't have teachers, but I had parents.
Indvuna yelitiko letemfundo umhlonishwa owenqumalo inanadele emave mbunga Kusile dladla ukuthi hostel lase St. Joseph's valentio libengelo elisezingeni elisetulu ibese ithi litiko libambe lunyawo lokuthi sale kufunza ngetebuchwephesha.
We are saying thank you not only to you, to His Majesty the King. Lebone kufanele ukuthi deputy asekube kumake lotanaka naba bantwana laba underprivileged.
Mabhalane wenhlangano kamhlaba etemfundo kanye nescience lwandle similana uthi akususwe konke lokukhathata abantu labakhubatekile empilweni kanti lobekamele emengamelo akaFortswa lokungiGrace Bhembe yena uthi imfundo yelakulela yentiwe ilungele wonke umuntu lokufaka ekhasi labakhubatekile etindzabeni kubika Fortune Dlangamandla ngisembabane.
Inkampani yaka-eBet seyinikelele lihhovisi leliphini Mvunankhulu ngekudla netinfo letfaka ekhatsi ticubo lokutawusita imindeni lengemakhulu lamatsatfu yebantfwana labahlala bodvwa lokubita 300,000 emalangeni. Lolusito lwemukelwe liphini Mvunankhulu imphunga Kusile dladla.
Inkampani yaka-eBet ngalesithathu ingene ngelive lenkosi letfolakala encwadzini ya-Isaiah ehhovisini leliphini Mvunankhulu etfula timfo nekudla lokutawusita imindeni yebantfwana labahlala bodvwa child-hearted families imindeni lengemakhulu lamatsatfu lokubita 300,000 emalangeni. Losito lwetfulwe ngiloweluleka ngetemtsetfo nalobukele inkampani kuleli Sibusiso Shongwe.
Kunebantfwana ke lesivile ngabo ukuthi these child-headed homes bagcwele ke laveni ngoba diningi tehlakalo lokhanza ukuthi tenda ukuthi batali bese bayafa sebashiya labantwana. Sibonga ke emhlonishwa ukuthi uhulumende akakalali wayilalela nekholi ngonyama lethi nkwe kwekuthi abangalahleki nalabo bantwana labo. Ngidawukhotha nje emhlonishwa livesi lebangithumela abantu labadzala singibona lisebenzisa Isaiah 58 lothi Isaiah 58 verse 10 lothi na wenda lokuhle kulabahluphekile utikhanyisela wena tindlela takho and wenda kwekuthi noma ngabe bumnyama bufuna kukulandzela bungakhoni ukukuthola.
Liphini Mvunankhulu imphunga Kusile dladla lemukelelo lusito washo ukuthi kutawuconza ngco kule mindeni yebantfwana labahlala bodvwa leseyibonakala yanza eveni.
Lokudla nesibongele kakhulu utawuhamba kuye kulabo labafanele iBet imali linasipha yona itadakha letindlu. Sinawo lama households leswati ukuthi ayadzinga child-headed households. Ngakhe ma child-headed households laslupha because umntwana uyaguidwa, umntwana uyamlead. Kute nje umntwana longase ahlele nebantwana bakubo asengibeke kusana 12 athi bese udevelopa njena ema parental skills overnight.
Liphindla Ndvunankhulu-ke liphindze lithi leli hhovisi ngekusebenzisana nenkampani yahulumende lebukete kudla netekulima litawusukumisa umsebenzi wokulima imihalo yemasimu kute kusukume tinhlelo tekulima kunciphisa lesive lesigcine sidzinge kakhulu lusito lwekudla. Etindzabeni te-Eswatini TV kubika Samkelisiwe Khoza kunaThemba Shabangu eMbabane.
Landvunankhulu imphunga Kusile selemukele ticatfulo netimpahla tesikolo lokubita 150,000 emalangeni kunikelelwe inkampani yaka-Select. Liphinde Landvunankhulu lithi live linebantfwana labanyenti labaswele lokuniketa lonke eliswati insaya yekunakekela lo mlibalo yayimbili welive.
Inkampani lesite eMaswati ngelusito lwemali Select Limited eSwatini kugubha iminyaka lengama-25 yasungulwa kuleli inikelele lihhovisi leliphindla Ndvunankhulu ngeticafulo tesikolwa nemayunifomu kusita abafundzi labeswele. Umphathi wale nkampani eBheki Dlamini wetfulelo lusito kulo liphindla Ndvunankhulu waveta kutsi tinhlelo tale nkampani tekubuyisela esiveni tinhlelo lokufaka ligalelo ekutfutfukiseni inhlalakahle yeMaswati.
It is without a doubt that the future of this country will be determined by what we are doing today. And also, it will also be determined by what are we doing to shape the future of our children going forward.
Liphindla Ndvunankhulu imphunga Kusile lemukelelo lusito laveta umcoka bekubambisana kwesive seMaswati kunakekela sive leseswele.
We've got so many vulnerable children in this country. And lokumcoka ukuthi singamele umntwana ngaphandle be our brother's keeper, be your brother's keeper. And the initiative that is taking place is signify exactly that. Kuti singamaswati sithi asidingi ukuthi size sitshelwe ngumuntu ukuthi sihamba ngcono. Kufanele ukuthi simbathisane. Select Limited belongs to a family of givers. Kona lokuthi nicale le microlending, it's because you had identified a gap. Onke Maswati akakhone ukuthi abe access to financial assistance. Atokhona to grow in the process. So you will convey our sincere gratitude to the family yaka-Select. Lokhu lenikulethile namuhla akusiko kwenu wala Maswati la patronizer lo Select.
Lolu sito lwaka-Select luyingcenye yemkhankaso lochutshwa ngilolu hhovisi leliphindla Ndvunankhulu le-Back to School campaign lolubuke kucinisekisa ukuthi wonke umfundzi eveni uya esikolweni anako konke lakudzingile. Etindzabeni te-Eswatini TV kubika Samkelisiwe Khoza kunaThemba Shabangu eMbabane.
Indvuna yelitiko letemphilo umhlonishwa Mduduzi Mathebula isukumise ngalokusemtsetfweni i-2025 Rotary Club of Mbabane Annual Medical and Dental Outreach. Lapho khona eMaswati atfola lusito lwetemphilo loluhlukene aphindze atfole nekufundziswa ngekuvikela tifo. Kubhekeke kutsi kusitakale eMaswati langetulu kwa 5,000.
Kulo mnyaka losetulu lomsebenzi wokunika eMaswati lusito lwetemphilo loluhlukene ekusekelwe i-Rotary Club of Mbabane litawube lisebhalekane eNazarene Clinic nasesikolweni ebhalekane eNazarene Primary School kusuka nathi 17 kule nyanga lesetulu kuya nathi 21 kuyinyanga lesetulu.
Chipalekane has got lots of challenges. You know, we've been there many times, and yeah, there's just a lot of challenges. But we are going to be working there this time around, and we've identified about 9 schools.
Ngekusho kwaDokotela Msamthetho sive lesakhayena lendzawo sitokolasho ematinyo sifole lusito le-physiotherapy siphindze sihlole naletinye tifo letihlukene siphindze futhi sifundziswe kabanti ngekuvikela tona tifo. Dokotela Mthetho uthi batawusebenzisana netikolo leting-9 uthi kuloku batabe baphethe netishoshovu tabodokotela beMaswati letisebenta eveni laseNingizimu Afrika kusi labanye bodokotela batawusita kakhulu bobabe ekukhuleni kwabo lokwehlukene. Indvuna yelitiko lwetemphilo umhlonishwa Mduduzi Mathebula ithi lolu hlelo lolu le-Rotary Club of Mbabane luyahambisana nehlelo lwelive lwetemphilo i-National Health Strategic Plan 2024 kuya ku-2028.
Sibonge kakhulu tisebenti temphilo nato leti timbandzakile kulo mnyaka titawuphuma wonke kutobambisana nabo baka-Rotary nabo bonke labasebasapota lo msebenzi from bodokotela labatimele nalabanye labangemaswati labasebentela kubomakhelwane lo nyaka kuyintokoto ukuthi basite batabe bakhona batobambisa live ukuze sive sengwenyama sibe ngilesiphephile. Ngekugcina ngekwelashwa nje kutawuphindze kufundziswe ukuthi letifo singativikela kanjani.
Inkampani emshayelezi i-Old Mutual ngiyo letosekela ngekulayisha imikisi ebhaleka eNazarene Clinic yonke imishini letodzinga ngulabodokotela basachuba lo msebenzi wayo.
When we were presented with the opportunity to support this program, we were compelled to be a part of something that addresses the needs of bantu bethu kanye nemiphakathi. It is a privilege for us to contribute to creating a well-rounded and much-needed social experience for our children.
Lobukete kukhangisa kuyo longu-Ayanza Motha nakakhulumela umphathi wayo ukuthi bayathanza kulekelela uma amaswati atawunikwa lisito usi lokutimbazakanya kwabo ne-Rotary Club of Mbabane kungilokunye lokubakwenta kusite emaswati. Iphelile iminyaka lengu-16 so i-Rotary Club of Mbabane ngekusekelwa litiko letempilo inika lusito lwetempilo mahala haha emaswatini etindzabeni kubika Fortune Dlangamandla ngisembabane.
Indvuna yelitiko letemafa umhlonishwa Neil Reichenberg ithi emaphakelo lengetiwe atawusita-ke kucedzela tinhlelo tentfutfuko ikakhulukati ngoba kunebulukhuni bemali ikhulumende. Indvuna beyikhuluma ngesikhatsi timphunga tiphasisa umtsetfo wemaphakelo lengetiwe langu-58 million emalangeni.
Lithe natichubeka nemsebenzi lohlelo lisuku timphunga ngalesithathu indvuna yetiko letemafa umhlonishwa Neil Reichenberg wacela timphunga ukuthi lendlu ehloniphekile tiguculwe belikomiti lendlu yonke kuphasa umtsetfo losakhankanywa emaphakelo langetiwe pheceleti Supplementary Appropriation Bill wemnyaka timali wahulumende lophelako wa-2025 langu-58 million emalangeni kude ematiko ahulumende akhone kucedzela imisebenzi yentfutfuko lengakakhoni kusetshentwa ngemaphakelo alelitiko laphelile. Emva kwekuthi timphunga tiwuphasise lo mtsetfo indvuna yetiko letemafa yaseyatibongela khona endlini.
Le mali lona kugcoka siyadinga kakhulu ukuqeda umsebenzi wegovernment. Sibonga kakhulu umsebenzi wakho. Siyathemba ukuthi le mali itawukhona ukugcwalisa yonke le ndzawo la kuvele kushoda khona. Nyalo nje la government vele le cash flow kumatima kodwa lo msebenzi lona itawukhona usita ukuthi le mali lokhu sinaso kakhulu ukufaka vele kuphi ngiconga kakhulu khona.
Lamaphakelo langetiwe atawubona litiko letekwatisa lengetelwe emaphakelo lang-14 million emalangeni kanti itiko letekulima lengetelwe emaphakelo lang-19 million emalangeni yetinhlelo tekulima. Etindzabeni yeSwatini TV kubika Samkelisiwe Khoza kunaThemba Shabangu ePhalamende.
Mapalane lomkhulu etiko letekuvakasha nemvelo Khangeziwe Mabuza uthi liyachubeka nekuhambisana nemigomo yakamhlaba lebukeke kucinisa tinhlelo tekuvikela imvelo kunciphisa imithelela yokugucuka kwesimo selitulo. Mabuza bekakhuluma ngesikhathi lelitiko libambe umhlangano nabomabhalane labakhulu bematiko kubukusana ukuthi livese lihambe kangakanani ekusebenziseni tinhlelo teluhlaka lwekubuka imithelela yokugucuka kwesimo selitulo.
Litiko letekuvakasha nemvelo lihlanganise bomabhalane labakhulu bematiko ahulumende kubukusana ukuthi live selihambe kanganani kusebenta tinhlelo telihlaka lelibuka imithelela yokugucuka kwesimo selitulu kulimala kwelitfwatfwa selivikele sibhakabhaka nekuvikela imvelo lelatiwa ngele-National Determined Contribution lelakhiwe ngemnyaka wa-2020. Mabhalane lomkhulu kulelitiko Khangeziwe Mabuza uthi loluhlaka litawubuka ukuthi live lingamelana njani nemithelela yokugucuka kwesimo selitulu live likhone ukuthi ikhicitela kudla lokwanele netakhiwo nato nemnotfo welive kungathi kabhedeki kakhulu.
Kusebenta-ke sithi inhlangothi letiningi ngoba lona kusomsebenzi lobuka elitiko lilodwa lona libese liyahlanganisa lokwentiwa live etinhlangothini letiningi kungaba ngilababuke takhiwo kube takhiwo emadolobheni kube takhiwo imigwaco kube takhiwo lokunjengabogesi emanti sibukeke nekuthi kutekudla nakhona sihambe kanjani yini intuthuko lesiyilethile lenta ukuthi sikhone ukuchubeka sikhicite kudla kube netilokatane letincane kuphindze kukhone kumela nangabe kuyenteka mhlawumbe lina kakhulu noma lishisa kakhulu sitowubuka loko nje sibuke lokuthi singakucola njani sikulungise sisesilungiselela 2030 ukuthi lokhu lesikwenda konyalo kusale kusithatha kusibeka kulo mnyaka wa 2030 la onke emave emhlabeni atawube ahlangene abuka lokuthi sichubeka kanjani nekunciphisa lokulima lona lidwadwasi.
Lohlaka luyingcenye yesivumelwano sakamhlaba lesatiwa ngale Paris Agreement sekutibophelela kwemave emhlaba ukuthi atawusukumisa tinhlelo tawucinisekisa ukuthi tiyagcina tinhlelo tekuvikela lidwadwasi lelivikele sibhakabhaka kunciphisa lemithela lemibi eguquka kwesimo selitulu ehlasela umhlaba kufaka ekhatsi isomiso timvula etinemandla netiphepho. Etindzabeni yeSwatini TV kubika Samkelisiwe Khoza naSmuva Shongwe eMbamane.
Imphunga umfanenkhosi Ncengancenge ithi live leSwatini ngebuholi bemakhosi lenta kahle endzabeni yekucinisa tinhlelo letawunaka inhlalakahle nemalungelo abomake. Imphunga beyikhuluma ngengcungcuthela yemhlangano wabomake lowatiwa ngele International Women's Day Conference lobanjwe ngetindlela tebuchwephesha.
Sicondzene kakhulu nalaba sesebancane labasangena in politics ukuthi sitawubasita kanjani ukuthi bachubekele embili kumbe bende ngcono kunathi ngoba siyakholelwa lokho ukuthi lalabancane kunathi in the digital age lesibona ungazi ukuthi ngiyo leta bridge the gap kakhulu yalokwehlukanisa kwalama gender omabili bona ba at a better place than us. Thine nasingena politics 15 years ago hayi kwakulukhunyana kodwa nje nathi sezamile kuyihlakula inzima lencane so bengihighlighta lokho nje nami ngibatshela lesisikwendile silive leMaswati esigabeni sabomake ngibavetele nje kancane kusho ukuthi in my first term eParliament sakhona ukuthi siku Minister of Natural Resources ngingishaman wayo saphasisa umthetho wale Mines and Minerals Act. At that time lokho kunqoka kulowo mthetho ukuthi kune quota yabomake lecondze nabomake ngco ku mining level into lengekho emaveni lamanenge so ngikuhighlightile lokho kwabajabulisa kakhulu ngakuveta ukuthi kuona lo term leyo saphasisa amendment ekule yayiku deeds registry leniketa abomake emandla ukuthi sebangathi khondela emhlabeni wabo ngaphandle kwekuthi baqhutshwe boyibo ngemadoda abo lokusho ukuthi asisho ukuthi cha bomake sale batendela kuthanza nje asisho njalo but sithi ngoba inkinga ikhona nasemindeneni kuhamba kube letinkinga kepha manje ke lelibhandele belibosho ukuthi umfati angeke akhonde ayedwana angekho baba wakhe beyenda kube ukhunyana bomake ngikuvetile ke lokho bakujabulele kakhulu umhlaba kukuva lokho ngakuveta lokuhle kwenziwe ingwenyama ukuthi ingwenyama iphe bomake ilanga lelikhulu labo lisemaganweni leli celebrate abomake nje ngqo.
Kutemidlalo emalunga elikomiti lelibuke kusebenta kwelitiko letemidlalo endlini yabayesikhulu watfumisela uhlelo lwahulumende lolwatiwa nge-talent search loluhloseke kutfola lithalenta kutemidlalo lehlukahlukene kanye nakutemasiko etinkhundleni. Lamalunga bekakhuluma ngesikhatsi lelikomiti likhulumisa emaphakelo alelitiko.
Buka ke-objective yabo balitiko kwekuthi ngabe objective yabo nabasearcha le talent kwakuyini and ngiyatibuta kwekuthi we have found the talent and then what are we going to do with this talent that we now have as a country kuze ikhone kwekuthi benefit the people laba khona ekuthola lama awards. Ngiyabekisa nje la kule talent search yethu ayiqalanga ke kuphela ngala ka music ngiyakhumbula ukuthi naka sports sibenayo because lama bholeni nami ngasibona striker nje bengayadi ibhola but ngakhona kubona umfana lokhanyako bekadlala beyetimbisini nanamhla solo ngiyafisa kwathi ukuthi lo mfana bekadla ini lele menda gijime kangaka. So i-concern yami ithi uphi lo mfana after the talent search.
Eminye imikhakha khona letinkundleni kakhulu wona lo mkhakha washukuma wavakasha lenkundleni akusafana nayitolo iyouth seyakhona ukudlala ibhola emaground njengoma yasitakala.
Baba bayini ama outcomes ale talent search. Lesikubonile ke che
ukuthi thina sikwatile ukudiscover the exceptional gem for the country to unleash to the world. Lokuthi laba bebade lithuba mbamba lekuthi bangabonakala kanti banalo leli talent. Bafihlekile bale phasi ekugcineni emakhaya. Bakhonile bese bayavela ngale talent search. But iveta nabo bakhona kwekuthi labanye bakhona bese bayakhona kubonakala usicha nabo bakhona nje.
Lobukela uhlelo lwe-anti-doping enhlanganweni yakamhlaba yetemfundo, tesayensi kanye netemasiko kuleli nikhinximalo. Uthi lakuleli lingakhona-ke kucela sikhwama lesilinganiselwa ku-1.9 million emalangeni ekulweni netindzaba tekusebenziswa kwetidzakamiva pheceleti Fund for the Elimination of Doping in Sport. Ximalo bekakhuluma nalo msakato eMbabane. Asishiye lapho tindzaba tetfu tesiswati sitawubahlola emakethe. Sikhuluma nebelitiko letekuchumana uma sibuya emakethe.
Eswatini TV has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Eswatini Communications Commission. We are committed to reporting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. For any complaints of our programming, please contact us on 2411-9600 or email info@eswatinitv.co.za. You can also contact the Eswatini Communications Commission on 2406-7000 or write a letter to ECCOM on PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Email address is info@ecom.org.sz.
Lalela ngikutshele tindzaba letibuye enkosini. Uyezwa na uthokandaba luthango lonke laselibonjeni aluphelele ehlane esigodlweni ngalesihlanu mhla tisi-7 kuyo indlovu lenkulu mhla tisi-8 liyagidza lithango mhla tiyi-5 liyachithwa libutho bonkosi. Usho njalo Mswati lomnyama kulabalithulu ulodungandaba wasembelebelweni ulodungandaba wasemambondweni. Bayethe wena waphakathi phezu komkhono ngekubusisa kwawo emakhosi luthango lonke lufanele ukuthi livunule lihiya lelibovu ngemgcibelo bese ngelisondo livunula lihiya leli-orange. Ningavunule mabalabala lithango nibe bahle. Bayethe wena waphakathi.
Kude lesinye isikhathi ngaphandle kwalesi.
Aba-researche bafunze.
Being risky means ukuthi nalokuwa kwayo kulula.
Nathi kufuna sente ukukhiqiza lokusemini.
Welcome back to the program. You're still watching Kusile Breakfast Show. This is the Thursday edition, and today we want to speak on digital transformation, which isn't just a buzzword. I think it's important that we emphasize that, looking at the many conversations that are happening even outside of just newsrooms, socially as well. everyone's excited about the digital transformation that is happening in Eswatini. Of course, it's a fundamental shift in how governments serve their people. And we have sat down with the Honorable Minister for ICT, Savannah Mazia. We explored the grand vision, the strategic intent, and of course, even how Eswatini's digital revolution is going to be. But vision at the policy level is one thing, execution is another. This morning we moved beyond the broad strokes to the mechanics of implementation. What does digital transformation really look like on the ground? How do partnerships with Google and the UAE translate into real functional systems that change the way that citizens, me and you, interact with government? Now, think Google-backed tech academies developing a digitally skilled workforce, AI-powered governance making services smarter but also more responsive, as well as a national digital addressing system reshaping location-based services. Unpacking all of this, the next phase rather, it is the man at the heart of e-government operations, Mr. Bongandla Ngamandla, is the director of eGov at the Ministry of ICT. Good morning, Mdunga. Welcome to the program. It's one of those conversations that have a lot of Emaswati excited, mainly because I think everyone now is awake to the reality that the world has gone digital, and that compels us to be at par with the rest of the advanced economies of the world. As a man that sits in such a critical office, literally at the helm of what really is happening, let's speak firstly about this Google partnership, because I think it is one of the things that has excited a lot of people. I've seen the conversations online, even in person. People still come to me and say, what the Ministry of ICT is doing is really amazing. I was looking at South Africa, a recent publication from 2 weeks ago. They're stating that they stated that a lot of their services, in fact, over 90% of their services, are backed by Google. How is that going to translate in Eswatini?
Thank you so much. Ngibingelele babukeli. What I can say is that we are also excited as a ministry to have such a partnership. You look at it, Google as a multinational company that has presence in big economies. You wouldn't really think they would agree to come to us with our size and our economy. But thanks also to the hardworking Minister of ICT, who really pushes to make sure that things happen.
Yeah.
So I would say, as a Swatini, we are very, very happy to see this partnership coming through.
Yeah.
We are at the point where we are unpacking all the benefits. Just as you say, our neighbors, over 90% of their services, backed by Google. Then you see that if we allow this partnership to work, then we have so much to benefit as a country.
Absolutely. Do you know, you're mentioning something critical. I think for me, the first thought that came into my head when I heard about this development was, what really was the value proposition here that the Ministry of ICT presented to Google? Because you look at the size of our population, you look at, the potential that one may think we have from a layman's point of view, and you may think, Google's not coming here. But here we are, and indeed they are here. And indeed, you're mentioning something very critical in the sense that it's more than just a partnership, but also it's embedding us into a position where even when other, potential partners will look at us, they will say, okay, there's Google there, surely that's a place that we want to go. But the Google Academy, as you say, now we are looking at the benefits that come with it. And I'm sure, seated at your directorship, your chair there, a lot of the responsibility weighs on your shoulders. Let's talk about this Google Academy. What are some of the benefits in this establishment?
Yeah, well, the Google Academy is one of the benefits we are looking to achieve and to reap from. Basically there, we are what Google does in the countries that they have presence. they partner with the local institutions. They set up the academies there, and they allow the locals to get capacity building on their technology. Like we know that Google is strong on cloud computing. We know that Google is strong on GPS mapping. Google has a lot of these expertise on solution development, coding, all those skills. Google it does provide certifications to that, and basically that opens up the economy, innovation. So we are looking into making sure that all Emaswati, because you know we have our institutions in the country, University of Eswatini has been there. They do provide IT skills courses, but you know the population, they cannot consume. All our institutions cannot consume all our young people. And we do have these young people who may not necessarily need to go through a 4-year degree, but they can get a 6-month, 3 months strong certification. They do have the innovation basics.
Absolutely.
And then from there, we are looking at many opportunities because we are building a global economy. To say you have this skill, and maybe Swatini is small as we know, but your skill can be consumed globally.
Yeah.
So with people, with companies such as Google, giving you something that can be recognized globally, then it opens up for more opportunities for the people.
Mr. Dlamandla, I'm not the most tech-savvy person in the room. In any room that I enter, I'm probably the least tech-savvy person, but that then propels me to, you know, sort of want to listen to people who are, you know, working with the digital transformation programs. And so what I like to do is I watch a lot of YouTube content, and a lot of these guys who, in fact, I can say this boldly, the most top-rated person when it comes to, let's say, digital reviews, should it be smartphones, should it be electric cars, didn't even go to school. In fact, he's acquired a few short courses called Marcus Brownlee, MKBHD. A lot of our viewers should know him, especially the youth. And so I sort of understand your point of, you know, sometimes a skilled workforce doesn't necessarily have to go through the 4-year programs. And so this will come in handy, some of these short courses that will come with Google. But, you know, we understand that they will be backed, these academies under our Real Science Technology Park. You know, how essential is that partnership just to partner with our own RSTP?
Yes, of course. I think we have come to a point where we realize that we need to build more of our innovation skill in the country.
Yeah.
And the Royal Science and Technology Park, one of its mandates is to stimulate the innovation in the nation. So you can recall that there is a school of IT which was offering a diploma in IT, special, mostly cybersecurity and other areas. But we think to stimulate the innovation, we need to readjust, repurpose RSTP, and the introduction of the academies is in the right direction to say, to stimulate innovation, bring in these high-tech specialized companies, let them offer their specialized skill, let them open up Emaswati's minds to innovation.
Yeah.
So we think if we do that now, because it's not only Google that we are planning to bring in,
of course,
your Amazon, UAE already we have a partnership with UAE. We have a school of IT that we are introducing at RSTP. So basically, innovation, we want to believe that in a short space of time, you will see a lot of innovation coming.
It's quite interesting because what sits at the heart of a lot of people's conversations with these developments is, the convenience that it's going to come with. And indeed, even the Honourable Minister did speak on her anecdotal experience, even coming up with the, government in your hand. It was the idea around convenience. But I am really seeing the benefit around job creation just as important there. We have spoken about a skilled workforce being a imperative foundation for any transformation, and surely even with digital transformation we need that skilled workforce. And so with these academies, that is going to be the reality. So let's speak about the focus, because I do see it as a primary focus up there with your core pillars there, to make sure that we have a skilled workforce, and therefore even our opportunities, even remotely, because with the advent of COVID-19, we did see a lot of remote work coming into play. A lot of Emaswati, our youth, is going to be employed now even in large tech companies digitally, globally.
Yes, true. What we are saying is basically what we are looking up to say, yes, we want to open up the economy through the academies. We know that our young people, because you can recall that Eswatini is a youthful nation.
Yeah,
so
very young.
Yeah, so basically it means we must create more opportunities for the youth than for the elderly. So we are actually saying now, with this innovation coming up and the global economy opening up for Eswatini, our youth will not only look at Eswatini for opportunities.
Yeah.
They will now connect to the world. As you say, COVID-19 taught us that we can work from home. We can work virtually. So, in fact, at the heart of this development, we are also making partnerships with the countries like the UAE and others to alert them that we already have a good workforce in Eswatini that they can tap into.
Absolutely. I do want us to get into the government digital workspace platform. We have spoken about, it's not necessarily just about the efficiency, but it's also about accessibility and transparency. It's very important because the citizens are very quite, let me say, the way that they've reacted to the government in your hand platform, it shows a lot of excitement. But how will the servants, the citizens, the civil servants, see once this platform is fully implemented? How will they really see, these benefits coming into play here?
Well, this program is basically trying to bring a government that is accountable, a government that looks into service delivery as the main thing. So we are looking at improving service delivery in the whole of government. Our civil servants, we are doing a change management program to say they need to adopt this government in your hand. We need to all embrace it as civil servants, so that when we do our work now, we must use these systems, and we must connect with Emaswati digitally. That's where the world is going to. So what I can say is that civil servants will have to adjust and make sure that everything they do now is government in your hand.
Yeah.
And how we connect with our citizens as well, it's no longer now citizens coming to the office. We are changing that narrative.
Yeah.
We are saying now for citizens to talk to their government, to interface with their government, they can do it at home. There's no need for them to come to the office anymore. So we are, with government in your hand, we are actually saying, let the service come to you.
Yeah, I don't know if you've been watching the news, particularly this week, but some of the heated conversations and heated debates in Pali around accountability. And I think it's quite affirming learning that this particular platform is going to really, really put that under a microscope and make sure that that accountability, that sense and that level of accountability is really where it's supposed to be. But let's look at the secondary options. They call it digital content creation today. I like to call it digital entrepreneurship. I'm saying this because I did mention on the previous interview we had the minister, I have a very close friend who is making ridiculous amounts of money just from digital content creation. And to me, that's a digital entrepreneur from the businesses that he's running online, particularly on YouTube. They are making a lot of money.
Yes.
The AdSense feature there. Speak to me about, these secondary opportunities.
Yes, of course, Google is coming up with those opportunities. We are so much keen to make sure that we unlock all that part.
Yeah.
YouTube is very strong in stimulating the economy of the country through this content creation. So what I would say is that I've seen actually from social media, we have a lot of Maswati who have good content.
Absolutely.
They are also doing their thing. They are advertising. They are some are in the. You have, I think you have seen how this space for this jokes.
Oh yes, yes. Comedy, podcasts
yes,
too.
I think you have seen how
Yeah.
Maswati they are coming up.
Yeah.
So the unfortunate part is there is no much income that they're
no return at
generating.
all.
Yeah, some of them have to be innovative around advertising.
Yeah.
Now, Google is very big on advertising, and YouTube is their biggest income generation through advertising. So now, what I would say, the good thing about YouTube is that now you are able to make business, you are able to have income, to make money with what you want, what you love. So it's now the art space.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's I think then it balances up the economy because
Absolutely.
there's the formal economy and then there's the informal economy.
Yeah, as it were. Very interesting because to me, I always watch in concern some of the great content on YouTube or whether it's TikTok or all these other platforms really. And you see a really creative Maswati producing amazing content there and obviously racking up incredible views, like hundreds of thousands of views. And to think that there's nothing they are getting in return and knowing what Google is making off of that, and I mean, YouTube is making off of that and TikTok is making off of that, it looks very unfair. But we're happy that that is coming to an end. But let's shift gears now and look at the relationship between Eswatini and the UAE. We've said it many a times, the UAE is a global leader when it comes to digital innovation and digital transformation. What are some of the priority areas here with this partnership?
Okay, with the UAE, because the UAE, they are advanced already. They are amongst the top 10 the digital economy leading countries. I just checking their e-government development index. They are rated 13th. And on cybersecurity, they are leading.
Wow.
So, now partnering with the UAE is strategic for us because in terms of e-government, in terms of government in your hand, they are going to help us. They are going to give us a lead. They are going to make us leapfrog from their experience.
Yeah.
So that is one of it. And then secondly, what we are benefiting now, because that partnership we are already benefiting, the capacity building aspect. So already we have sent some Eswatini officials for cybersecurity training, cloud computing. We recently, last year, the Minister of Education, we trained 50 teachers on digital skills because we are looking at the fact that they are the ones educating our young people, and we have to capacitate them as well. So it's so many of the capacity building courses and workshops that are coming from the UAE, which is building our human capital, and now also on the systems themselves. So we are going to partner with them on the e-government systems, is cybersecurity and so on. There's so much that we are gaining from the UAE.
I think what has gotten me the most excited is the education exchange programs that we have with the UAE, particularly because of the reasons that you are mentioning, them being a leader in cybersecurity, but also I think that also alleviates some of the fears that some of our people may have around our information being compromised with these developments online. So if they are leaders in cybersecurity, surely what we are learning there is going to help us.
Yes, true.
Mr. Bonga, I'm afraid we've run out of time, and yet I had two more important questions, but I think we've covered some ground here. If anything, the show may end today, but conversations continue to happen. There are more developments that are going to happen. We are always ready to have you guys back on the show. Bonga Ntlangamandla, e-Government Director under the Ministry of ICT, telling us what really is happening in terms of the priority areas that we will see coming into play in terms of benefits from the partnerships that we have with Google as well as the United Arab Emirates. Let's go for a net break. We'll be back shortly with our traffic update.
When you choose your adventures, you do so with an open heart and a desire for the unexpected. You embark on journeys to discover new worlds full of wonder. You choose a path to awaken your senses, a world to make you look up and realize just how inspiring this life can be. Arrive and awaken your heart. Explore life in ways only thought possible in your dreams. Discover just how far you go to expand your understanding of life's greatest mysteries. There's just one place on this planet with so much to offer. Now is the time for you to have the royal experience.
Kusile Breakfast Show luhlelo lwangalesine lomuhla nalomuhla seloku sithi sitawucaphela sikabedwa emigwaqweni sisaya emisebenzini nasetikolweni sibanjiswa ke ngamaphoyisa embubene sive elihlangothi lelisibukela yona i-traffic. Ngamane utawusipha nangumbiko lomhla ekseni sikuvusele lomhla ekseni ngabe uma nisipopolela imigwaqo kukhona yini la kufuna ngathi singacaphela khona lomhla ekseni.
Angivusele ngaba yenkosi ngiphinze ngivusele naye umbukeli wemsakato iSwazi TV. Imigwaqo yelive sesiyihlolile lesikuthola konje mbukeli ukuthi umgwaqo losuka khona eMotshane ubheke khona eSpiki endaweni yaselihlangothini umgwaqo ovokile. Ikhona ke impawulo ekuqaphelisa bona abashayeli basahamba kuloyo mgwaqo loyo ukuze phela bangadikhandise bagcumukele kuloyo mgodi loyo ke. Nasisuka khona engwenya sibheke khona eMbabane siyanaka ukuthi abantu labahamba ngetinyawo abadiphathi kahle bawela emgwaqweni lomkhulu longithela wayeka ikakhulu engwenya village ngoyoyo kumaduma nakumanzana. Bashayeli bayixwayisa ukuthi abashayeli ngekucophelela nabafika kulezi ndawo. Nasithatha umgwaqo losuka khona emhlaleni ubheke khona enhlangano. Nasifika khona lapha endasi enhlangano umgwaqo lo yakhona kalavumisa uvaliwe lapha eMkamjuda Junction. Lababheka khona kalavumisa bayixwayiswa ukuthi abahambe bayongena ekhathi edolobheni lapha ku junction yase Muslim Church bese baphumela khona emgwaqweni lomkhulu lo yakalavumisa. Sisahlola yona imigwaqo sithatha umgwaqo leso ubita ngekuthi ngu-MR8 Public Road lo suka khona kelele ubheke khona eBig Bend. Kunetikolo eceleni kwemigwaqo ikakhulu iGilgane nePonjwane neDuze kanye neKhethiwe. Bashayeli bayaxwayiswa ukuthi abashayeli ngekucophelela basahamba khona. Sisaqhubeka sibheke khona eBig Bend endaweni ekuthiwa kusemtinzekwa nalapha emkhathini nasendaweni yasemtinzekwa nasethambuthi umgwaqo wenile kakhulu. Bashayeli bayaxwayiswa ukuthi abashayeli ngekucophelela lokukhulu. Sithe nasiqhubeka sibheka khona kalavumisa nakhona emkhathini wenza wasejozini Big 6 nasemaplotini nakhona umgwaqo wenile kakhulu. tihlahla tilingela emgwaqweni tivale tona phela timphawu leti temgwaqo leti lawula bona abashayeli ukuthi bayothi bashayele njani. Siyacela nje ukuthi abashayeli bachubeke bashayele ngekucophelela lokukhulu basahamba kuloyo mgwaqo loyo-ke. Nasingena edolobheni lethu elikhulu kaManzini, idolobha liyahambeka lokukhona nje ukuthi tiba netemgwaqo e-remand center adisebendi. Abashayeli bake baxwayisa ukuthi abahloniphane phela lofike kuqala bese kuhamba yena kuqala. Sisaqhubeka sidlula yona imigwaqo yethu siyanaka ukuthi tinkomo tiyanza emgwaqweni ikakhulu endaweni yasemliba eluva emtiye nasemadlangamphisi. Sindisa tibona-ke futhi endaweni yasesiteki kulukhula mathetha embolonjeni ngalonhlupheko nakalonhlupheko. Abashayeli-ke bayaxwayiswa ukuthi abashayele ngekucophelela lokukhulu ukuze bafike baphephile la baya khona singako lesinatho ngabayingozi.
Simakhulu Kubonye Wandlovu noZipho Maseko usipha i-traffic update bongosi sendawucaphela lapho lasho khona ugcizelele kakhulu umgwaqo wasemotshane kubheka khona esibhiki uyaveta ke lokho ukuthi kodwa ke timpawu tikhona letawucaphelisa bachubi betimotolo. Asibahlalwe netmarket sitawubuya netindzaba tesingisi.
Eswatini TV has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Eswatini Communications Commission. We are committed to reporting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. For any complaints of our programming, please contact us on 2411-9600 or email info@eswatinitv.co.za. You can also contact the Eswatini Communications Commission on 2406-7000 or write a letter to ECCOM on PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Email address is info@ecom.org.sz.
It's 2 minutes after 7. Thank you for staying with us. This is Kusile Breakfast Show, the Thursday edition. Our English news. The Deputy Prime Minister, Senator Kusile has called for a mini dialogue involving various stakeholders to identify the barriers that are preventing people with disabilities from achieving their dreams. Senator Dladla made these remarks during a ceremony where the Prime Minister's office honored two pupils with disabilities who performed exceptionally well in the Eswatini General Certificate of Secondary Education examinations. The pupils recognized were Kuzulwanle Gama from St. Joseph's High School and Petsile Nyatabo from Dimpisini High School.
Let us have a mini indaba, mini. Lengadzingi wonke muntu, kepha ledzinga the core stakeholders. Sitowukhona kubutha onke lama gaps labavimbela kwekuthi i-vision sifiso sabo ema-goals abo bangafiki kubo.
The Deputy Prime Minister, Kusile says all gaps preventing people with disabilities from achieving their dreams should be addressed. She emphasizes that St. Joseph's Hostel should be inclusive to all children with disabilities. The people with disability who were honored, Kuzulwanle Gama and Petsile Nyantobo, expressed their gratitude that their hard work has been recognized.
Siyabonga nje ukuthi kusebenta kwethu lokungaka kungabukelwa phansi. Sithi sisebentile kubese kuba khona ukuthi sibonge. Kuba into lenhle leyo phindze kusinike i-courage ukuthi namanje lolo yakhona sebenta utakuthola kudunyiswa phambili.
I don't know what to say. I just like to thank God for carrying me all this way. It's been God all the way. Thank my parents, my teachers. At Dimpisini, I didn't have teachers, but I had parents.
The Minister of Education, Honorable Owen Nxumalo, echoed the words of Deputy Prime Minister Kusile, stating that St. Joseph's Hostel needs to be upgraded to attract more children with disabilities. He further stated that the ministry is committed to ensuring that more schools become centers of excellence by integrating advanced technology.
We're saying thank you, not only to you, to His Majesty the King. Lebone kufanele ukuthi deputy asekube ngumake. Lotanaka naba bantwana laba underprivileged.
The Secretary General of the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, Lwandle Simelane, emphasized the need to eliminate all barriers that hinder people with disability from thriving in life. Meanwhile, Grace Bembe, who represented the Federation Organization of Disabled People in Eswatini, FODSA, stated that the country's education system must be inclusive and cater to everyone, including people with disabilities. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Dlangamandla Mbabane.
EBET has made a donation of food hampers to the Deputy Prime Minister's office worth 300,000 emalangeni. The money is aimed at helping child-headed families, and the donation was received by the Deputy Prime Minister, Senator Kusile.
With a word from the book of Isaiah, EBET Eswatini donated to the Deputy Prime Minister's office food hampers worth 300,000 emalangeni to benefit 300 child-headed households. The donation was presented by EBET Eswatini Country Representative Sibusiso Shongwe.
As EBET, we remain committed to the upliftment and attempt at making the lives of Emaswati much more bearable. In our hearts, we pray for the complete eradication of the strife our women, elderly, and children are faced with every day. It's through your hard work and determination that we continue to witness. That has also prompted us to pick our pockets and be part of those that say, we see you and we are very aware and touched by what you do.
Receiving the donation, the Deputy Prime Minister, Senator Kusile, said Eswatini has over the years been recording an increase in the number of child-headed families.
Lokudla nesibongele kakhulu utawuhamba kuye kulabo labafanele IBET imali linasipha yona itadakha letindlu sinawo lama households eswatiko ukuthi ayadzinga child-headed households ngakhe ma child-headed households lasilupha because umntwana uyaguidwa umntwana uyamlead kude nje umntwana longase ahlene nebantwana bakubo asengube kusana 12 athi bese udevelopa njena ema-parental skills overnight.
The Deputy Prime Minister also said her office is working with EWAID for an extensive food production for vulnerable families. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I'm Samgal Swekoza with Temba Shabangu, Babane.
The Deputy Prime Minister, Senator Kusile, has received a donation of school shoes and uniforms from Select Limited. Now, the Deputy Prime Minister says the country has many learners who come from vulnerable backgrounds and they struggle to afford basic school essentials.
As part of its 25th anniversary, Select Limited Eswatini donated to the Deputy Prime Minister's office school shoes and uniforms for vulnerable learners. The items were handed over to the Deputy Prime Minister by Select Chief Executive Officer Bheki Dlamini.
It is without a doubt that the future of this country will be determined by what we are doing today. And also, it will also be determined by what are we doing to shape the future of our children going forward.
The Deputy Prime Minister, Senator Kusile, received a kind donation, saying government appreciates the involvement of the private sector in such initiatives.
We've got so many vulnerable children in this country. And lokumcoka ukuthi singamele umntwana ngaphandle be our brother's keeper. Be your brother's keeper. And the initiative that is taking place is signify exactly that. Kuthi singamaswati sithi asidingi ukuthi size sitshelwe ngumuntu ukuthi sihamba ngcono. Kufanele ukuthi simbathisane. Select Limited belongs to a family of givers. kona lokuthi nicale le micro lending. It's because you had identified a gap. Onke amaswati akakhone ukuthi abe access to financial assistance. Atokhona to grow in the process. So you will convey our sincere gratitude to the family yakaSile. Lokhu lenikulethile namuhla akusiko kwenu wala maswati la patronizer lo Select.
This donation by Select contribute to the Back to School campaign spearheaded by the Office of the Deputy Prime Minister. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I'm Samgal Swekoza with Temba Shabangu, Mbabane.
The Minister of Health, Honorable Ntutuzi Matsebula, has officially launched the 2025 Rotary Club of Mbabane. This is the annual medical and dental outreach. This initiative provides various healthcare services to the people of Eswatini, along with health education on disease prevention. It is expected that over 5,000 Emaswati will benefit from this program.
This year, the Rotary Club of Mbabane will be providing various health services to the people of Eswatini with support from the Ministry of Health. The outreach will be held at Palegane Nazarene Clinic and Palegane Nazarene Primary School from March 17 to March 21. According to Dr. Musa Mtetwa, the community will receive free medical care.
We've identified about 9 schools from the community, and that leaves us about close to 5,000 kids that we are going to examine. We are going to see every kid, and we are going to transport them to the center where we are going to treat them. Since we are going to be in a clinic, we've also invited all the doctors to come in and work with us. So it does not really mean that it's going to be dentistry only. It's going to be the doctors that are going to be treating patients with all ailments.
The Minister of Health, Honorable Ntutuzi Matsebula, says this outreach program by the Rotary Club of Mbabane is aligned with the National Health Strategic Plan 2024 to 2028.
During this year's outreach, healthcare workers from our public facilities will be in partnership with those from the private and NGO facilities to deliver health services to the people as we strive to achieve a standard of care across the board with our health services. These partnerships encourage the growth of volunteerism and the spirit of giving back, which is an important pillar in the development of our young people and the society.
The insurance company Old Mutual is also supporting this outreach. Marketing manager Ayanza Motsa also spoke on behalf of the company.
When we were presented with the opportunity to support this program, we were compelled to be a part of something that addresses the needs of Bantu bethu kanye nemiphakathi. It is a privilege for us to contribute to creating a well-rounded and much-needed social experience for our children.
The Rotary Club of Mbabane, with support from the Ministry of Health, has been providing free medical services to the people of Eswatini for the past 16 years. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Dlanga Mandla, Mbabane.
The Honourable Minister of Finance, Neil Reichenbach, says the supplementary appropriation budget of 58 million emalangeni is going to play a crucial role in ensuring the completion of ongoing capital projects across the country. The Honourable Minister was speaking in Parliament when the Senate passed the Supplementary Appropriation Bill of 2025.
When the Senate convened for parliamentary work on Wednesday, the Honourable Minister of Finance, Neil Reichenbach, moved that the Honourable Senate constitute itself into a committee of the whole House to consider the Supplementary Appropriation Bill of 2025 worth 58 million emalangeni. The Honourable Minister, when appreciating the Honourable House, said this supplementary budget will help in completing unfinished capital projects.
Siyadinga kakhulu le uqeda umsebenzi wegovernment sibonga kakhulu umsebenzi wakho siyathemba ukuthi lo mali idawubona igcwalise yonke le ndzawo la kuvele ushoda khona nyalo nje la government vele le cash flow kumatima kodwa lo msebenzi lona idawubona usita ukuthi le mali lokhu sisinaso afuna ufaka vele la kuphi ngibonga kakhulu Bonga.
He says with cash flow challenges, this budget would help government ministries achieve their given mandate by completing their capital projects, whereas the supplementary will see ministries such as the Ministry of ICT given 14 million emalangeni and 19 million emalangeni for the Ministry of Agriculture, amongst other ministries. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I'm Samkal Siwekoza with Themba Shabangu, Parliament.
The Eswatini Multi-Purpose Cooperative Union has a new board which will be in office for the next 3 years. Now, the board, which is chaired by Thamsanqa Phakathi, was announced by the Minister for Commerce, Industry and Trade, Honorable Manqoba Khumalo. The previous board's contract was terminated following alleged mismanagement of funds.
SWAMCO will also be managed under administration, management and supervision by the Office of the Commissioner himself for the next 3 years to make sure that the issues that are under audit are fixed and SWAMCO resumes being a normal cooperative organization as we expect. The Commissioner has appointed an experienced board to SWAMCO, and we have Mr. Thamsanqa Phakathi, who is going to be the president. We've got Mr. Mhlonipheni Msibi, who's vice president, and Mr. Sipho Dlamini, secretary, as well as Mr. Sifiso Mhlongo, who is the treasurer. Each member brings valuable experience from the cooperative sector, ensuring effective governance. The union's supervisory committee will now consist of 3 skilled individuals to provide oversight whilst the union is under ministry administration. These are Mr. Sandile Kwebu, who is the chairperson, Mr. Mandla Masubu, who is the secretary, and Mr. Sipho Gunene, who is a member.
In the year 2023 and the current financial year, over 90 million has been claimed under the Segulula VAT refund. This is under the Eswatini Revenue Service. It was claimed from South Africa. This has been said by the Customs Technical Director, Precious Chawuya, when she explained the importance of submitting value-added tax and how it contributes to the economic growth of the kingdom.
A number of businesses still struggling to fill in information in order to claim value-added tax. The Eswatini Revenue Service has explained part of the critical processes as well as how much has been claimed from the year 2023 until now.
We encourage that the person who is the owner of the goods, because that's the person who's eventually going to feel the pinch, they should be in charge of the clearance process. Even if you engage a clearing agent, it's important to direct the clearing agent to say, these are the items that I'm bringing in, these are the documents that you are going to use, documents being the invoices essentially. So these are the invoices that you need to declare to ERS, and this is the amount that I expect will be paid. So please, when you receive your goods, check that the amount is shown, that this is the full amount that has been declared, and also that the tax that was supposed to be paid has been paid. On a monthly basis, on average, I would say the claims average around about 400 to 500 per month. And in the previous financial year, the total claims that were made for VAT from South Africa amounted to slightly over 53 million. And this last financial year then, it's about 40 million that has been claimed under the system.
The service urges businesses to contact them if they encounter challenges related to VAT. For Eswatini TV News, Nelson Dlangamandla, Buminkosi Nzinisa, Babane.
The National Maize Corporation has partnered with the Eswatini Umbutfwa Defence Force as well as the Eswatini Water and Agricultural Development Enterprise to cultivate maize production. This initiative is expected to generate approximately 1 million emalangeni from the upcoming harvest season. The Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Defence, Prince Sikalo, states that this collaboration will help the ministry reduce expenditure on purchasing food for the army. The principal secretary was represented by Under Secretary Sanele Malambe.
The National Maize Corporation, along with the Army, once worked together in recent times to cultivate maize, but this initiative was not successful. However, it was also reviewed in 2023. The National Maize Corporation Chief Executive Officer Mavela Villan expands on the project.
I'm looking at above that, Ngosi, probably 6 to 7 tons per hectare isivuno lengisibhekile kulo mkhiqido lo.
He says he is hopeful that around 6 tons per hectare of maize will be harvested. He says since they have planted about 50 hectares, he hopes that 1.5 million emalangeni will be generated from this project.
The question is sustainability lemqoka. Lokuthi lokho will be achieved. Ngale lesikubonako uma ngabe kutaba nale expansion.
The representative of the Army Commander, Moses Magongo, states that they hope this initiative will be extended to other farms of the Army. He says full sustainability will be achieved if there is expansion to agri farms. He says this means the country will at some point be able to feed itself.
Ekubeni sigijime kangaka na NMC wabe suyaqhamuka iweight sokuthi ke na hayi cha nami ngidawuvela ngidaniphakamisa.
The Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Defense, Prince Sikalo, was represented by Under-Secretary Sanele Malambe. He says EWAIT has joined the project. He adds that the ministry is happy that the project has been revived. He says they hope this project will help reduce the money the ministry spends on army food. In this initiative, it was emphasized that the country must produce enough maize instead of importing it. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Dlangamandla. Nogwane.
A 19-year-old has been arrested and charged for rape, which he allegedly committed 3 years ago. The accused is charged with the rape of a 15-year-old girl, and the accused is Thokozani Dlamini.
The accused Thokozani Dlamini has been arrested for violating several sections of the SOTV Act. He is accused of committing the crimes multiple times between 2020 and 2022. The accused claimed that he was arrested by police on the 17th of last month in Hereford, and he is currently in custody in Pikes Peak. He says that despite knowing the victim, he denies the allegations against him. He expresses surprise and disbelief at being accused of committing these crimes between 2020 to 2022, which is 3 years ago. The accused further states that it is surprising to him that he is being accused of committing the crimes 3 years ago, but the complainant has recently contracted a sexually transmitted infection. The accused requested to be granted bail to prepare for tertiary. The High Court Judge Sabelo Masuku granted the accused person bail fixed at 50,000 emalangeni. The judge says he must pay 5,000 emalangeni, with the remaining amount to be covered by his surety. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Dlangamandla, High Court.
On our international news, President Donald Trump delivered remarks before a joint session of Congress on Tuesday evening, lauding steps taken by his administration to slash the bureaucracy, order steep tariffs, and pressure Ukraine to stop fighting against a Russian invasion. Democrats watched and made their protests clear.
President Donald Trump's Tuesday evening speech marks his first address to a joint session of Congress since he began his second term on January 20.
America's momentum is back, our spirit is back, our pride is back, our confidence is back, and the American dream is surging bigger and better than ever before.
But barely 5 minutes in, the Democratic Representative Al Green of Texas began shouting that Trump had, quote, no mandate to cut Medicaid, the government aid program for medical coverage for low-income people.
Mr. Green, take your seat. Take your seat, sir.
Green was escorted out. Trump highlighted the steep tariffs he enacted Tuesday on China and U.S. neighbors Mexico and Canada. These top 3 U.S. trading partners have threatened retaliation, sending financial markets tumbling amid fears of a new trade war.
There'll be a little disturbance, but we're okay with that. It won't be much.
Earlier this week, Trump paused military aid to Ukraine, following last week's combative Oval Office meeting with President Volodymyr Zelensky over a deal that would give the U.S. rights to Ukrainian rare earth minerals. It's part of his efforts to press Kyiv to take a deal to end the fight against Russia's invasion of the country.
Simultaneously, we've had serious discussions with Russia and have received strong signals that they are ready for peace.
In delivering the Democrats' response, Senator Elisa Slotkin of Michigan highlighted Trump's fiery exchange with Zelensky.
And that scene in the Oval Office wasn't just a bad episode of reality TV. It summed up Trump's whole approach to the world. He believes in cozying up to dictators like Vladimir Putin and kicking our friends like the Canadians in the teeth. He sees American leadership as merely a series of real estate transactions.
Other Democrats signaled their protest while Trump spoke, wearing pink to call attention to Trump's policies they say negatively impact women and families, and holding signs including Musk steals.
Doge. Perhaps you've heard of it. Perhaps.
Referring to efforts by tech billionaire Elon Musk to slash federal bureaucracy by canceling government contracts and firing tens of thousands of federal employees.
Any federal bureaucrat who resists this change will be removed from office immediately. Because we are draining the swamp.
Again, the Democrats' response from Slotkin.
You want to cut waste? I'll help you do it. But change doesn't need to be chaotic or make us less safe. The mindless firing of people who work to protect our nuclear weapons, keep our planes from crashing, and conduct the research that finds the cure for cancer, only to rehire them 2 days later? No CEO in America could do that without being summarily fired.
Trump credited himself for the drop in the number of migrants illegally crossing the U.S. southern border.
The media and our friends in the Democrat Party kept saying we needed new legislation, we must have legislation to secure the border. But it turned out that all we really needed was a new president.
Sitting with First Lady Melania Trump were guests whose life experiences amplify her husband's agenda, including an activist against transgender athletes in women's sports and the family of a woman killed by an undocumented immigrant. Trump repeated his calls to take back the Panama Canal and take over Greenland, but not his demands to expel Palestinians from Gaza. He spoke for an hour and 40 minutes, the longest presidential speech to Congress.
Europe is scrambling to take the lead in planning an end to the Ukraine conflict, and U.S. President Donald Trump on Monday paused all military aid to Ukraine after a contentious Oval Office meeting last week.
Fallout on both sides of the Atlantic Monday and mounting European concerns about Ukraine's future after last week's contentious exchange between U.S. President Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. That Oval Office blow-up ended a rare earths mineral deal that Trump argued was key for continuing U.S. support for Ukraine. On Monday, the business-minded president hammered in his increasingly blunt point. If Ukraine wants to survive, he said, Zelensky needs to make a peace deal.
We have to make a deal, and the deal can be made very fast. It should not be that hard a deal to make. It can be made very fast. I believe that Russia wants to make a deal. I believe certainly the people of Ukraine want to make a deal.
Earlier Monday, Trump posted a message on social media, blasting Zelensky's strident concerns that the brutal ground war would continue much longer. Russia invaded in 2022. Analysts say they can't predict Trump's next move on the business deal that holds this all together.
It's still unclear what Trump's plan really is. What we can also see, what has emerged over the weekend, is that Europe is stepping up to do more to deter Russia.
Zelensky left the White House Friday and flew across the Atlantic into the arms of European allies. Prime Minister Keir Starmer put muscle into that embrace at Westminster on Monday, reiterating Britain's offer of peacekeepers and announcing $2 billion for 5,000 air defense missiles for Ukraine.
Mr. Speaker, it is right that Europe do the heavy lifting to support peace on our continent. But to succeed, this effort must also have strong U.S. backing.
And also Monday, the two men at the center of this grueling war delivered their messages to the world, showing how far apart they are on this conflict that has bogged down Europe for 3 years.
I think that on an equal level, the U.S. support will continue because failure of Ukraine is just not success of Vladimir Putin. It is the failure of Europe. It is the failure of the United States of America. I think we are all interested in not giving Putin an opportunity to win.
And a spokesperson for Russian President Vladimir Putin.
They want the war to continue. Therefore, in this situation, of course, Washington's efforts and Moscow's readiness alone will clearly not be enough. A crucial element is missing.
Meanwhile, Beijing also expressed wishes for a resolution.
China is not the creator or a party to the Ukraine crisis, and we support all efforts conducive to peacefully resolving the issue. We hope all parties concerned will work out a lasting and sustainable solution that addresses each other's concerns.
And as night fell in Washington, the White House confirmed to VOA that it had ramped up the pressure, saying the administration is pausing and reviewing our aid to ensure that it is contributing to a solution. And Trump teased to his next big announcement on Ukraine.
We're making a speech. You probably heard about it tomorrow night, so I'll let you know tomorrow night.
That will be his address to a joint session of Congress Tuesday night, Washington time.
Our sports news. Members of the Portfolio Committee for the Ministry of Sports have applauded the ministry's program of Dinkhundla Talent Search. They say that it seems to be serving its purpose by developing talent in different constituencies in the country. Now, the members of parliament revealed this when the Ministry for Sports appeared before the Portfolio Committee to discuss the ministry's budget allocation for 2026 financial year. On another one, UNESCO Anti-Doping Unit Country Representative Nikki Ngumalo says the country has a chance to apply for a fund that is equivalent to 1.9 million emalangeni for the elimination of doping in sport. Ngumalo was speaking to Eswatini TV Sports in Babane. That is how we end our English news segment. We'll go for a net break. Sana Lesbia joins us telephonically after the break to react to the price hike in fuel prices.
Lalela ngikutshele tindzaba letibuye enkosini uyeswa na uthokandaba luthango lonke laselibonjeni aluphelele ehlane esigodlweni ngalesihlanu mhla tisikhombisa kuyo indlovu lenkulu mhla tisiphohlongo liyagidza lithango mhla tiyimfica liyachithwa libutho bonkosi usho njalo Mswati lomnyama kulabalithulu ulodungandaba wasembelebelweni ulodungandaba wasemambondweni bayethe wena waphakathi phezu komkhono ngekubusisa kwawo emakhosi luthango lonke lufanele ukuthi livunule lihiya lelibovu ngemgcibelo bese ngelisondo livunula lihiya leli-orange ningavunule mabalabala lithango nibe bahle bayethe wena waphakathi.
Eswatini TV has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Eswatini Communications Commission. We are committed to reporting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. For any complaints of our programming, please contact us on 2411-9600 or email info@eswatinitv.co.za. You can also contact the Eswatini Communications Commission on 2406 7000 or write a letter to ECCOM on PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Email address is info@ecom.org.sz.
Welcome back to the program. We wake up with news that are sure to shock a lot of motorists across our major newspaper publications, as well as a press statement that was released yesterday by the Ministry of Natural Resources. They speak to the numbers that do not lie. They tell a rather unkind tale for motorists as well as households alike, if you think about it. As the clock strikes midnight, we have received the news that Eswatini braces for an 80-cent surge across fuel categories: petrol, diesel, and paraffin, adding yet another layer of financial strain to an already beleaguered consumer. Now, the Ministry of Natural Resources and Energy cites under recoveries and global crude dynamics as the key drivers, but one cannot ignore the elephant in the room: South Africa's recent price cuts. So what gives really? Why are we seeing an increase while other economies or other countries really are seeing a dip? And crucially, what does this mean for inflation, transport costs, Eswatini's broader economic trajectory? Sanil Sbia is in studio. He's our economist. You should know him by now, and he's joining us to break it all down. Sanil, good morning to you and welcome to the program this morning. The biggest thing for me is the price paradox. We are seeing South Africa, reducing the fuel prices. We saw them recently, yet Eswatini is moving in the opposite direction. What specific economic factors there are contributing?
No, thank you, Mr. Nxumalo, and good morning to the viewer. So, the paradox really just has the nation talking because we are just a few minutes away from South Africa, and our economies are so largely intertwined and so largely related. But as you remember, we do track that dollar lilangeni exchange rate on a daily basis on the Business Watch program in this channel. So if you look at the numbers, the dollar to lilangeni exchange rate, it's been fluctuating. Earlier on when President Trump took office, it really just showed signs of strengthening with 1:2. It got to that 17 mark for $1 in terms of our lilangeni. So those exchange rate fluctuations do actually contribute to how we pay for the fuel, because it's paid for in that international currency, in the dollar. And then also, if you look and recall the price of Brent crude oil as well, it was on that 80 mark and then only started coming down when we saw that stability within the Middle East. And if it went down further when we're seeing these talks of a peace deal within Russia, Ukraine, and we do know that the open, it just came down at that point in time. So I think balancing those factors would actually have an impact and contribute to an increase in the price of fuel, purely because if you recall, we have gone down, I think, twice, while South Africa had gone down once. So when you look at that dynamic, that means it does warrant that to get closer to that equilibrium and ensure that the suppliers are able to pay for to recover the cost associated with the payment. We do expect that to have an impact on the increase in terms of the price of fuel. And then we cannot discount the fact that just on Monday, a new fuel levy came in. So that also in itself plays into that. We saw an additional of 40 cents into the fuel levy. Remember, at some point it was just 35 cents, right? Now plus 40 cents, so it takes it to 75 cents. So that in itself does have an impact on the price, because we know that suppliers tend to pass on such taxes. They are not just going to pay them. They will pass the tax to the consumer because it then becomes an additional cost that they have to consider. And then in terms of cost recovery, then we do expect that to be factored into the price.
It's quite interesting because you speak on some of the global pressures that are there, so, I mean, some of them local as well. You highlight the dollar to Lilangeni fluctuations, which we highlight almost every day on our Market View and Business Watch programs, which airs at 2 p.m. by the way. But what really strikes me with this divergence here is the question around, is it really the dollar to Lilangeni fluctuations, and of course government alluding it to the hike to rising Brent crude prices. Is this the cost of operating, of doing business in a volatile market, or there are other structural inefficiencies at play here?
When you look at it, the country does not have control in terms of what happens to the price of Brent crude and also to the dollar Lilangeni exchange rate. But then you would also consider the fact of those structural effects in terms of, handling the entire issue, because I, for one, would have looked at it in the manner where you're saying, but we are seeing the price of Brent crude down on that 70 region, and that means we would actually expect that to stay into the foreseeable future as long as we have that Russia-Ukraine, possibility of a peace talk, as long as we have Gaza-Israel also on that peace talk type of level. And we do know that the OPEC Plus, which is the Organization for Petroleum Exporting Countries, is actually going to ramp up on output in the next couple of, I think probably next month. So we're going to start seeing that increase in output. And, considering that the price of Brent crude oil, which actually reflects a future contract, it's already now starting to factor in that April cut. So that's why, I largely believe that it is this tax change that necessitates that we do, because if you look into the nearer future, you could have actually just held on a bit and then probably consider it in, say, the next 3 months when you see that uptick in the price of Brent crude oil, because right now we do expect it to average around 75, coming down from an 83, 89 type of region, which the ministry says they are trying to assist business with a cost recovery type of plan. So one would then assume whether we could have held it on, or we could just do it now and then start seeing another decline, say 3 months into the future, when we see that it somehow declines. But in the present term, it's more that fuel levy which had to be factored into the price. But we're also just taking in that cost recovery type of initiatives.
So let's speak about the bigger picture here. I know you're a person that loves to focus on downstream effects. There will be, and there's always a domino effect, particularly on food, on transport, and other essential goods, general goods, if you will. Let's speak about some of, the inflationary pressures that Emaswati can brace for in the coming months.
All right. So when you speak of inflation, we have to think of the direct effects, right? So what we should expect post this increase is consumers, motorists, they're actually going to feel that impact directly as of tomorrow when it kicks in. They're just going to feel it, because now they're going to pay 80 cents more in terms of per liter. They're going to pay 80 cents more. So we're going to have that being factored into that consumption function and into the business processes as well. As logistics will also be affected, so it's actually going to cost to be passed on to that. And, from logistics, then, it's directly going to go into the food that you consume, into the clothes that you buy, into everything basically that you have to pay money for. Because remember that fuel and oil actually is the backbone of any economy. It is what drives supply chains. Without fuel, supply chains are dead. So now that is actually going to have that impact, such that when we do look into probably the February inflation figure, the March-February inflation figures, and also probably into April, you should see this coming in to that inflationary type of pressure, where we're going to see the consumer price index going up. So it has to go up through those transport channel, and also the factoring the food inflation and the other inflationary pressures. But we do know that people, most of them, Maswati, would actually be worried about, the direct impact on transport, more especially on public transportation.
Yes, or what you call
That one is more a regulated type of service, where government has to gazette how that is going to go. So unfortunately, the public transport operators, the owners, are actually going to feel that in terms of a loss into their profitability, because they cannot just up the price with those changes. They have to wait for a gazette.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you mention it, and you are very frank about the unfortunate aspect being the public transport owners, not necessarily the people that use public transport, but similarly motorists. If you and I drive cars, we feel that pressure just as much as public transport owners. But I do want us to get into policy versus market forces. Again, a very important salient point here. Could government intervention, whether through subsidies, whether strategic reserves or tax adjustments, can they help cushion the blow?
That one is quite interesting, because right now,
it could be at mercy of global market forces.
I personally believe that the government herself, I don't know whether we say herself or itself nowadays, the government herself has actually contributed to this right now through that fuel levy. But I mean, for good reason, setting up the road agency, the Eswatini Roads Agency, that requires to be funded, and we should expect to see improvements on our roads. We should expect to see, those potholes going away. So I think, as in terms of policy, you have to balance those things up. In terms of pushing for those efficiencies of having a national road agency, you could play around with, everyone just suffering a bit of a 40 cents increase there. And we do know that if we had a strategic oil reserve facility, that would have somehow cushioned the blow, because we would expect the increase only to factor into play that 40 cents increase. So would have actually expected probably somewhere around the region of 40 cents. Purely because, like I've already said, when you look at global forces, the immediate risk right now comes through those exchange rate fluctuations, but they are being offset by that downward spiral in terms of the price of Brent crude oil. Remember, when we tracked it yesterday, it was at $70 per barrel. We had actually anticipated it to find an equilibrium there about at $75 per barrel, but it seems it has actually gone down further than we had actually predicted. So that somehow balances out the exchange rate factor.
So are you proposing that economics say this is the best approach? You speak about, how they cushion the National Road Agency and the work that they are supposed to do. Important work, by the way, because the roads with which these motorists travel on need to be in good, condition, right? So is this the best approach, this levy?
So honestly, I would think it's a good approach.
I mean, seeing that we don't have the strategic reserves, as you mentioned, do we not have an alternative instead of making people suffer?
Alternatives are always there, but any which way you are going to suffer.
So no better alternative?
Yeah, because we could have gone the alternative of tolling the road, but still you would have to pay to use the road.
That's pretty much the same. In fact, it's much worse. I don't think they would pay 40 cents or 80 cents for that.
And you would have to pay it every time you pass, right?
Right.
So when you look at that cost-benefit analysis in terms of policy, that improvement in terms of consumer utility or your happiness compared to having taxed you through a road toll, that one somehow is a better alternative just to use that fuel levy, purely because when we calculate the feasibility of taking an economic decision, we do not only just look at the direct costs. We have to also factor in the positive benefits that are going to come with enacting the National Road Agency. So that is why we need it to be as efficient as possible, because they are enactment into law and existence have actually brought in an additional dynamic in terms of taxes to the Liswati. So we expect to see congruent benefits coming out of that type of space, and then in the long term, then you will see that it'll be relatively easier to stomach the tax if you're seeing the benefits.
Yeah, and you do mention in the long term. Let's speak about, the long term and focused at better alternatives in the long term. As we move forward, surely we need to look beyond this immediate crisis right now and perhaps look at, does Eswatini have, let's call it a roadmap, for lack of a better term, for mitigating such shocks in the near future?
I think we are doing fairly well, and our policy direction actually shows that we have recognized the fact that we are just extremely and too much at the mercy of foreign factors which we cannot at all control. So that is why His Majesty has actually committed government to ensure that they do get that strategic oil reserve facility up and running at Pozumoya, because that is what is going to allow the country to somehow dig into those reserves when we're seeing those dollar fluctuations. Just buy more when the dollar is low, and then you can sell to the local suppliers at that lower price, and then thereby you are avoiding those increases in terms of costs. So we are seeing that. And also there is the green revolution in Eswatini. We saw earlier on, later on in the previous year, when His Majesty was actually in Uganda looking at the electric vehicles, the Kira vehicle there. So if we can also have that push, so now that would shift us away from the gasoline-based type of fuel and mode of transport, and then take us into the green space. And then we also saw exploration of solar-powered vehicles, and I think we had actually expected to receive a couple of buses, because His Majesty actually commanded, solar panel, not even electric, it's those solar panel buses that are being produced in Uganda. So literally, you don't even need to plug it into a power source. As long as you have perfect sunlight, it's going to run.
And I suppose EVs would make sense in Eswatini, given our very, very, what's the word, our small radius and circumference.
Yeah, they would actually, because we have that small type of radius, and we have a very good network, so we cannot discount the fact that Eswatini's road networks is actually amongst the best in the region and actually in the whole of Africa. So we're doing well in that front, and that would mean the maintenance costs are going to be relatively lower. And now consider the fact that we have those solar-powered vehicles, which means you could even go on those long hauls type of drives, because then the vehicle is actually going to charge even on the road, right? But in terms of those charging stations, because that's one of the major inhibiting factors in Africa's ability to adopt electronic vehicles, purely because we don't have charging ports across the countries just as yet. So that means you would need that shorter radius. But for Eswatini, if you are fully charged, and then usually those vehicles will give you in the upwards of 150 kilometers on one charge. So it's usually 150 to 240. I think that's what Tesla is pushing for, that 240.
You can literally go from region to region.
You could actually go across the country. Yes,
absolutely.
Just charge it overnight. You could go across the country and probably come back.
Interesting indeed. So, Silas Bia, you are proposing that this approach is, let's call it the best approach, at least for now, as we continue to look towards getting that strategic reserve with which His Majesty the King commissioned, as well as the fact that you justified by the fact that this could be temporal. by the way, with all the pressures that are happening, even geopolitically, as opposed to alternatives that could pinch us pretty much every day, like your toll gates that you mentioned. So, because this is a recurring cycle that we shouldn't endure.
Pardon?
This is a recurring cycle that we shouldn't endure as a people. We need best alternatives going forward.
Yeah, I personally project that this is going to be temporary, so we should stay in this cycle, say probably for the next 3 months. Yeah, it's not new. And then after that 3 months, if the geopolitical global landscape stays as it is, then we should see at least yet another 40 cents decrease, probably in the month towards. In May or June. So we should see it decrease and coming back just to rest on that marginal impact of that fuel levy.
Okay. We are suffering the cost of dollar to Lilangeni fluctuations, as well as rise in Brent crude prices. All these pressures that are happening globally, but also, I think on the brighter side, just, reminding ourselves that our government has been commissioned to come up with a strategic reserve, as well as better alternatives. And, our road network continues to be bolstered and improved. That should ease possible pressures in the short term and long term. This has been Saneless Bia reacting to the price hike story that is sure to shock a lot of motorists as they wake up and listen to us here on Kusile Breakfast Show and as they read publications. Let's go for a net break. We'll be back and close the show shortly.
Welcome to Eswatini Lifestyle. This is your ultimate guide to the entertainment, to the lifestyle and the culture of Eswatini.
Eswatini Lifestyle. Eswatini Lifestyle. Eswatini Lifestyle. From 6:30 to 7 p.m. On Eswatini TV, Sibuko Semaswati.
On Eswatini TV, Sibuko Semaswati.
Kude lesinye isikhathi ngaphandle kwalesi
aba research bafunze.
Being risky means ukuthi nalokuwa kwayo kulula.
Nathi kufuna sente ukukhicita lokusembili.
Conflicted between saying welcome back and saying bye-bye because we are at the end of our program. Yes, indeed, welcome back to the program, but at the very same time, thank you for staying with us. Have yourself a good day, a very responsible and safe one. We hope that everything is going to go well today.
Lalela ngikutshele tindzaba letibuye enkosini uyeswa na uthokandaba luthango lonke laselibonjeni aluphelele ehlane esigodlweni ngalesihlanu mhla tisikhombisa kuyo indlovu lenkulu mhla tisiphohlongo liyagidza lithango mhla tiyimfica liyachithwa libutho bonkosi usho njalo Mswati lomnyama kulabalithulu ulodungandaba wasembelebelweni ulodungandaba wasemambondweni bayethe wena waphakathi. Phezu komkhono. Phezu komkhono. Ngekubusisa kwawo emakhosi. Luthango lonke. Lufanele ukuthi livunule lihiya lelibovu ngemgcibelo. Bese ngelisondo livunula lihiya leli-orange. Ningavunule mabalabala Luthango nibe bahle. Bayethe! Bayethe! Wena waphakathi.